Hello everyone and welcome back to Dungeons & Death Battles, the series where we search for the most lethal monster in all of Dungeons & Dragons. The rules are simple. The fight takes place in the arena, fighters start 30 feet apart, there is no fleeing the arena, and it's a victory by kill only. In this second season of Dungeons & Death Battles, 16 deadly dungeon denizens will be facing off against each other until we find the most barbaric of the bunch. Today, the nefarious Spined Devil will be throwing hands against the aberrant Nothic, a pair of creatures that have battled through from previous rounds to make it into this quarter-final bout. Now time for a quick creature comparison. The Spine Devil comes in with a 13 AC and a meager 22 hit point average. Rather on the low end for this difficulty class, but it does have the ever sought after flight speed, magic resistance, and resistance to non-magical attacks that aren't silvered, which despite its hit point drawback makes it a well-defended foe to face. It also of course has 12 tail spines which it can fling from its spot of aerial advantage, making it a truly dangerous creature to battle in the arena. And in the right corner stands the Nothic with its 15 AC and its much higher hit point average of 45. The Nothic is of course fully terrestrial, but it does have the Rotting Gaze ability, which it will be able to use to combat the Spine Devil's aerial superiority. And with all that out of the way, a pit lord in the crowd bellows its impatience at the hold-up, which does mean that it's time to roll in some initiative, starting with the Spine Devil and its +2 modifier. So it's only appropriate the Spine Devil gets the spiky dice, and so rolling in for the Flying Fiend, and that's an 8 +2 for 10, not bad, but could have done better. Let's see what the Nothic can combat that with, and that is a 19 +3 for 22, which does mean that the Nothic takes pole position in this battle, and so the aberration will be going first, and it is going to waste absolutely no time in bolting across that arena using its full 30 feet of movement to get into melee combat with the Spine Devil, a position that the creature does not really want to find itself in this early on, and the Nothic is then just going to hammer in with 2 claw attacks using its multi-attack. So rolling in for these, a +4 to hit versus the Spine Devil's 13 AC. And that's a 7 +4 for 11, so that first one will miss. And the second coming in, and that is a 12 +4 for 16. That one strikes true. And so we will be getting some damage on the table with 1d6 +3 slashing damage rolling in. And that is a big hit there for the Nothic straight away. With that 6 +3 making 9. Of course, the Spine Devil is resistant to this damage, so this will be getting halved down to just 4 after taking rounds into account, which does bring the Spine Devil down to 18 hit points. Now, having been immediately bomb rushed, the Spine Devil is not going to be too happy, and as we hand over to the creature, it will immediately take to the air, utilizing its flyby ability, which means that it does not provoke an opportunity attack when it flies out of an enemy's reach. So a quick escape there as it flies up into the sky, using 20 feet of its movement to get up out of there, staying just within enough range to make the most of its tail spine attacks. And because it maintained the 20 feet distance, that does mean it will be rolling these attacks in flat, because once again, the creature does get 2 attacks with its tail spines. So rolling in the first, again, a +4 to hit for this, and that is a 2 +4 for 6, that one failing as the Nothic just dukes out the way, and the second coming through, but a 17 +4 for 21 is going to connect. So let's roll in some damage for that one. So this was coming through with 1d4 +2 piercing damage, plus 1d6 points of fire damage. And so that is a terrifically pathetic 1, plus that 2 for 3, as we roll in the d6 of fire damage, with another 1 terrible damage output there from the Spine Devil, not what it would have been looking for at all, with that initial hit totaling for 4 damage, exactly matching the Nothic's output. Tit for tat in this first round of combat, and the Spine Devil is then going to use the rest of its movement to fly 20 feet further up into the air, making sure it is just out of range of that Nothic and its Rotting Gaze. But that being said, the Nothic is no fool, and it will likely have anticipated somewhat was going to make a move similar to this, and its eye does momentarily glow as it holds an action to use Rotting Gaze when the Devil does move back within its range. And so with this prepped, we are going to hand back over to the Spine Devil, which is going to fly down into range once again to make the most of its tail spines, not wanting to roll them at disadvantage. And this is when the Nothic is going to unleash the Rotting Gaze. And so as it flies back down, the Spine Devil will need to make a DC 12 Constitution saving throw against this magic. But as it does have magic resistance, this will be at advantage. Looking to be the DC of 12 here, the Spine Devil getting +1 to its con. And with a 16 +1 for 17, that will save. The Rotting Gaze merely washing over the Devil, simply bathing it in some kind of magical light. And unfortunately, there is no half damage to speak of when this ability goes off, so the Devil will get out of this one scot-free as it fires in with 2 more of its tail spines. So rolling in for the first, and that 7 +4 for 11 will miss once again, as we roll through with the second. And so will a 6 +4 for 10. that is also not going to connect. But the devil feels like this is something that it can probably do all day, as it flies straight back up out of range once again. And the Nothic knows simply to bide its time once again, holding an action to cast Rotting Gaze once the devil flies back down. And the devil, not having much luck with landing any of these tail spines, is definitely going to want to avoid rolling at disadvantage, as it does only have a limit to the amount of spines it can throw, with that number being down to 8 after the first 2 rounds of combat. And so as it flies back down into range once again, the Rotting Gaze fires off, devil rolling in with its save at advantage. Once again, +1. But with a 9+1 for 10, that does mean that the Rotting Gaze this time does break through the defenses of the Spine Devil, and so the creature will now be susceptible to 3d6 points of necrotic damage. And the Spine Devil does not have resistance to this, so it will be taking the full brunt of the attack. So rolling in for the Nothic's damage, and that is 2 4s and 1 for 9 points of damage. A very big hit there, which is going to half the remaining hit points of the Spine Devil down to 9 points. That is exactly what the Nothic needs to do here, relying on its fairly solid AC and hit point pool to simply tank the Spine Devil into submission. But then, of course, the Small Fiend will be using its actual turns to throw in with some more tail spines. So once again, rolling in against the Nothic here. And with that 19 plus 4 totaling 23, that one is going to break through. So once again, let's get some damage on the table and hope for something slightly better than the previous attempts. And a 2, that's improvement, with 2 plus 2 for 4, as we're all in for the d6 for the fire damage. And that is a 3, which adding onto that 4 makes for 7 points from that first tail spine attack. Not bad, as the devil drops the Nothic down to 34 hit points. But of course, we do still have that second tail spine attack, so rolling that one in. With a 4, that one will not land. And at this point, the Spine Devil has learned what the pattern of the Nothic is going to be, and it is going to use its movement to slightly skirt around the arena, seeing if it can potentially avoid the Nothic. But with the creature, of course, having its 30 feet of movement speed, it will always be able to stick within 30 feet of the Spine Devil, unless, of course, it flies up out of reach. But the Spine Devil, knowing that flying up and out of there is only delaying the inevitable, it will stay level this time. So we hand back over to the Nothic, which once again will be firing off its Rotting Gaze. Spine Devil rolling in at advantage once more. DC 12 Constitution saving throw. And once again, that is a failure on advantage, with that 5+1 only making for 6, which does mean that once again, the Nothic is able to get that Rotting Gaze off on the target, potentially in some pretty dangerous territory right here. The Nothic is going to roll in those 3d6 points of necrotic damage and see if it can pluck its victim out of the sky. And so rolling in once again, 3d6 points of necrotic damage. Nothic firing off yet another Rotting Gaze. And that is a big roll right there from the Nothic, with a 5, a 4, and a 3, totaling 12 points of necrotic damage, which does mean that it has done it. The Nothic has managed to defeat the Spine Devil in this quarterfinal round. The Rotting Gaze proving simply too much for the Fiend to stave off, as the magic takes hold of the winged beast, corroding through its wings and forcing it to fall to the ground, where a portal back to the Hells reopens, dragging the creature back into the pits from whence it came. An anguished cry heralds from the stands as the Pit Lord opens up its own portal, likely headed back to its domain to enact punishment on its fallen servant. And with all that said, thank you very much once again for watching. Hope you enjoyed watching this video in which the Nothic was able to end the career of the Spine Devil, utilizing that potent Rotting Gaze to bring its foe back down to earth. And I hope you'll join me again next time when the biggest combat of Dungeons and Death battles so far goes down, with the prehistoric Allosaurus taking on the lumbering ogre in a battle of the behemoths. And now, of course, if you did enjoy this video, please consider dropping a like, commenting down below, and of course subscribing to the channel. And as always, worth a mention, we do also have a Patreon, which has some extra layers of interactivity if that floats your boat. There are free and paid tiers over there, so why not go over and check it out, including polls where you can vote for the monster that you think is going to be the victor of the next battle. But other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you very soon for the next one.